Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Ascension as Astrology with Cornelia, Stephanie, and Janet Hickox. I know you are all used to seeing us come on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, but today we have special guests that prompted us to come in early since they live about halfway across the world from us, and it's 7 p.m. where they are already, and it's only 9 a.m. where Cornelia and I are. So we want to welcome you all this morning to the Ascension and Astrology show. Say hello, Miss Cornelia.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here with you. And it's nice to have our special guests, Pia and Cullen. And we can't wait to tell you all about this amazing show we're going to have with you all today.
So welcome to you, Pia and Cullen. Welcome to the Ascension and Astrology show. We are so excited. I've been, as you know, I'm the astrologer half of this group. And I am very excited to hear what you all have to say. And I am dead set on beginning to use this calendar in my daily life. And I want to hear more about how we can do that. But first, why don't you take a few moments and tell us about you guys and your journey to writing this book and in being the channels for Laarkmaa from the Pleiadians.
Well, I'm Orleane, and I was spending my life happily as a practicing clinical psychologist. I'm the astrologer half of this family, although I'm not a Western astrology. I'm trained in Venus astrology and this new system that Cullen and I together have put together. And the reason we're doing this is because on a very special birthday of Cullen's, the radio went off in our house. It's turned itself on. And all of a sudden, we looked at the clock to see what could that be? And it was exactly the hour and minute of his birth. And we thought that was pretty synchronistic, but we didn't know what it was. And I'll introduce Cullen now, my partner, my heartmate, and my co-author and co-designer of this revelatory new calendar. He can tell you a little bit about himself and then finish telling the story about how we got into this.
I'm Cullen, and I am Pia's special partner and mate. And this all began on my birthday some long time ago when we were contacted by a group of Pleiadians who started communicating with us non-verbally. We were getting what we would call thought forms. We would get pieces of information and we would look at each other and say, "Did you get that? Did you understand that?" And the other of us would say, "I got exactly what you're explaining that you're telling me you received." So we knew that it had to be pretty real because we could verbatimly agree that we got the same message. This went on for about 10 days. And then we realized that this was a huge opportunity. This was a completely different kind of occurrence. But I will say, we grew up as somewhat odd children. We had visions as kids. We had connections with the spirit world. We had connections with the angelic kingdom, the fairies. We had a very, very interesting, but I won't say imaginative, because for us,
it was very real.
It was very real. Mm-hmm. So speeding that up to over a decade ago, we were given this new information, and it developed very, very quickly. We began to then speak what they were bringing through us instead of just getting it in our mind's eye or in our heads.
This is not standard normal, what people would call channeling, because this particular Pleiadian group called Laarkmaa, very musical name, they require us to be touching, physically touching whenever they come through and give us messages. And whatever comes through both of us simultaneously. We don't speak it simultaneously anymore because that got to be too confusing for people. But the messages come through, and they say that they use the libraries of both of our brains to pick the words.
They don't speak in what we would call human languaging. They communicate directly heart to heart in the way they describe their communication abilities. They communicate in two ways: mathematical tones and musical tones. And so when we pronounce their name as they first gave it to us, Laarkmaa, that is their musical tone of the way they speak?
We learned quite quickly that it was going to be necessary to give up our respective careers. Cullen was a consultant. He's trained.
I'm an anthropologist and an archaeologist.
And I went into my psychology colleagues and told them that I was now hearing voices. It was very funny.
Yeah, I'm sure they wanted you out of the door really quick.
No, actually, they were most supportive, and many of them said, we want to hear too. And it was a really, really nice stepping away from the psychology profession and stepping into helping and doing our work in another way.
We actually didn't have a rough landing with changing our lives so dramatically. Actually, friends, some relatives, and I'm underlining some relatives, were very, very open about this. And our colleagues, I think, were quite interested. So it actually wasn't one of those leaps of faith where we thought, uh-oh, what are we doing? Is this going to be a mistake?
But from the very beginning, the Pleiadians started teaching us. They taught us about advanced medical things. They taught us about mathematics, the binary system. They taught us about
future transportation.
And then they started working with us about energy and understanding energy. And together we crafted this calendar. It's because of the Pleiadians that this has been put together in words and numbers that humans can look at and use to navigate the energies of their lives. And it very much reflects the Pleiadians' first attempt over 5,000 years ago when they gave similar information to the Maya. So there are similarities that you will see in the Mayan calendar and in this calendar because they are both based on energy, not time.
But this is an updated version. So many people have studied the Mayan calendar for so long. I did in my profession starting years and years and years ago. I spent a tremendous amount of time in the Yucatan when I was a graduate student and then as a professional. And it's pretty hard for lay people to understand a lot of what the Mayan calendar was trying to bring forward because of language barriers, because of hieroglyphic barriers, all of the things that...
Misunderstandings that have been passed down orally because nothing had been written and it was not taught except through oral stories.
So the Pleiadians gave us the choice, and this is important. They always tell us that humans always have choice. They said, are you willing to help us bring this wisdom to humanity? And we said, well, yes, I guess. And so within 6 months of us beginning to work with them, they said, would you start writing books through us, for us? And we said, gulp, okay, we'll try that. And then they said, we also want you to start speaking publicly. And that was a bit of a leap. And so within a year of them introducing themselves, we started speaking often. And then we turned it into an international situation where we were traveling constantly, speaking all over the world.
Which we still do.
Amazing, amazing stuff. So I know somewhere in your book, I think it was that I read that you and Bruce Schofield were friends, or that you bounced ideas off one another or something like that. I may be characterizing that incorrectly. And that's what I first noticed because I read his book on Maya astrology and I noticed similarities in this book. And at first I was like, wow, they're the same thing. But then I remembered that the Mayans very clearly said that they received this knowledge from star people. Yes. And so I thought it's almost like it's a little bit backwards, or the Mayan people received this information centuries ago, and now you're receiving this information as in it's time again for us to really live by this energy. So tell us a little bit about how this is similar to the Mayan calendar, but specifically, how is this different and why is this important for us to learn?
The most important thing I can say about this calendar is something that I feel has not been brought out very well in the Mayan system at all, and that's the energy of 13. In Western astrology and in Vedic astrology, everything is compartmentalized into 12. In fact, if you look at everything on this planet, it's divided into 12. 12 months in a year, 12 hours in a day, and 12 hours in a night, 12 dozen eggs. Everything's based on 12. You go to a building and oftentimes the 13th floor is eliminated. It's just not there. 13 has been, which is incidentally, 13 has always been aligned with the divine feminine. It used to be called lucky women's number, but it is definitely aligned with divine feminine, which is a direct relationship to Venus.
And can I interrupt just for a
Yes.
second? We can certainly say that the patriarchy was absolutely responsible in erasing the number 13. They decided that because that was the special number for women, it must not be such a good idea. So actually the patriarchy removed 13 from everything.
But the patriarchy also put us in a place of looking at clocks and calendars based on an artificial system of time. Prior to that, women were leading everybody in looking at energy. The right timing was determined by what energy was present. So this sudden absence of 13 in our lives has changed our reality enormously. And the Pleiadians really want us to come back into focus of using this 13th energy, because 13 is the energy of integration. We're here to learn our lessons and to raise our vibration and to raise the spirals of our consciousness. But instead of going around on a spiral up and up and up, we keep looping around the same old circles and loops with our emotional behavior, our patterns.
Groundhog's Day.
Yes.
Yes.
Because we don't allow integration of what we've learned. We don't pause, go into retreat, integrate it all, and then start again. We hit 12 and we're already saying, okay, oh boy, what comes next on 1? That's the way our culture is. So the most important and different thing about this system is the reintroduction to the use of the energy of integration. The second most important thing that is different from the Mayan calendar is a focus upon shadow cycles as opportunities for learning and growth. Now, the Maya knew that there was a period of time when tension, energetic tension built, and the Mayan ball games were designed by the governments that ruled the people of the time to disperse this energy that built through the Mayan ball games. But that's all that's ever known about what these periods of energy were that came every approximately 60 days.
Burner days, they called them.
Yes.
Yes.
Laarkmaa has explained to us that these are not just days that we need to just run or hide or, bad hair days, but they're actually a chance to look at our patterns, our belief systems, our behavior, and make a different choice. So shadow cycles are the opportunity to look at those aspects of yourself that you don't want to look at, that you're afraid of, that you don't remember, anything that needs to be brought to the light and loved.
And it's interesting, we didn't want to introduce this system to the public until we had tried it and tried it and tried it to be sure that we were being accurate. And what we did, this system has been in our hearts and in our minds for over a dozen years. What we figured out is if we looked retroactively back to shadow periods for each of us, but also friends and colleagues, we noticed that there were always conflicts, there were always disagreements, there were always eruptions of emotion that were much, much greater than outside of the shadow period. So we're really happy that we were able to use those retroactive understandings to see that it really makes sense, because people could say, oh my God, a divorce happened. I went into the hospital for cancer surgery. I lost my job. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of examples.
So now when the shadow cycle comes up, it's marked. You can find out where it is individually for each person. And you can say, I need to be extra aware during this to see what the lessons are showing me. What do I need to do? So they're immensely valuable.
Yeah, I find that very interesting. And I want to hear more about that. But really quickly here, for those of you who are just joining us this morning, we are talking to Pia and Cullen of the Pleiadian-Earth Energy Astrology book and calendar. We are so excited to have them here. And thank you both for joining us at this very different hour from the typical business day, at least for you guys. And before we go back to the idea of the shadow cycle, tell us about the structure of this calendar and how people can use this in their lives.
You want to start?
Well, I'll start and then I'll let Pia jump in. The calendar is completely organized around energy. It's not about time. It's strictly about energy. And what the Pleiadians have tried to help humanity understand is that energy has intelligence. Energy is always changing. It is always moving. And everything in our human experience is about relationship of energy.
So the way people can use this is by beginning to look at the days on the calendar we have created. It's aligned with the Gregorian calendar. Cornelia, do you want to hold up one of the months so people can see?
So here's
right
Here,
there.
hold on. I'm going to put you up solo here. So there, now bring the calendar in about right there.
You can see, pick a day. Let's pick Saturday.
no, look at today's. Even look at today's, Pia. Today is feeling, which is perfect because we're talking about emotion.
Great, then we'll look at today. So on the calendar, you see the 18th of April, which is the Gregorian date. But then there's a big 12, and you have to ask, what does that 12 mean? And the 12 is the universal energies, which I'll explain in a minute. Underneath that, there is a descriptive word, and the word is feeling, and that is the earth energy, which I'll also explain in a minute. Now go over just a little further to Saturday, and let's look at Saturday. All of a sudden, you can see the difference between the ending point of the 13, which is tomorrow, and the beginning point of the 1, which starts on Saturday. We start a whole nother period, an energy period of 13 days of the energy building and building on itself until we reach the next 13 that comes along. So this energy, this calendar can be used when you utilize and understand what the energies mean, what the symbols mean. The back of the calendar has a listing of what each of the earth energies is and what each of the universal energies is. The energy for today, feeling, gives us an upside down, Cornelia.
Oh,
there you go. There you go. So you can look down and you can see feeling is an opportunity to deal with your emotions. That's the appropriate use of the energy. Look and see what you're feeling and why you're feeling it. Examine it. The inappropriate use of feeling energy is emotional reactivity, overreacting to things. So every single one of these days has a guiding point of appropriately how to use it and inappropriate response to the energy. They are the 20 energies because we have 10 fingers and 10 toes and we count things in 20. Being humans, they have 20 different earth energies that pretty much are the intelligence of energy expressing itself as vibration, frequency, and waveform of our human experience.
so
Now,
go ahead.
Go ahead, that's okay.
So I was going to say, so again, so today's is feeling, and
Yes.
then we also have the universal energy of 18.
Yes, and that's where I'm going next.
Oh,
The
that's where you're
universal-
going.
The
Okay.
universal energy is not our earthly experience. It is what is cosmic law, what is universal in the universe. Everybody in the universe experiences it. Today's energy is illuminating. Yes?
18, or no, it'd be 12, right?
12. Today's energy is 12, understanding. Understanding energy follows illuminating, which was yesterday, because in the illuminating energy, we get to see a little bit more light shined in. And then by the time we get to 12, which is today, we can incorporate that and have understanding. Oh, now I understand what I saw, which, right? I mean, they follow in really logical order. The first one is initiating. The second one is where we split to duality to get a second point of opinion. The third one is where we add our creative input. The fourth one is where we stabilize a little bit, get our ground under our feet. The fifth one is, okay, that foundation is not working so well. How do we need to change it? The sixth one is how we flow. The seventh one is the merging between the veils and between each other. 8 is the energy of connecting and abundance, like the infinity sign. You can see both sides connecting and waving. 9 is harmonizing. 10 is manifesting. By 11, after we're beginning to manifest things that we've done through the first 9 energies, we can see how this is shaping up. Then we reach the 12 energy, which is understanding. And then we get to the one that's been eliminated in all life for a very long time, 13, completion and integration. Then we start over again with a new cycle. They build on each other.
Yeah, and the universal energies is for us, is available for us, so that we can tap into it moment to moment and
Yes.
realize the energy of understanding, or realize the energy of initiating, or whatever that day's universal energy is, the frequency is, that's the opportunity for us to align with that energy, right? Because really that's where we want to go back to. We want to go back to this original system of organic system that is really, really simple, and that is the energy, not going based on time, because we're always, when we're going based on time, this is not our organic nature.
No,
and to be able, right, to be able to go back to our original organic nature, we want to go back to energy, working with energy and feeling and intuiting. And I love the missing number 13, because it's true. In the Mayan calendar, I was a 12. I'm a 12 in the Mayan calendar, and so now the number 13, like you said, Pia, the integration piece is so huge. This is kind of like what I feel like right now that just happened when Jupiter just turned retrograde this last week. I felt like, wow, I totally felt that shift in my physical body. And I felt it because I felt like, we have been expanding at the speed of light with so much information, so much. We've learned so many things, that now this is giving us the opportunity now to unpack, to integrate what it is that we've learned before we continue on. And I think that's that number 13 that you're talking about, is really moving into the number 13 and integrate this energy of everything that we've learned over this last cycle.
Absolutely.
I feel like it gives us a rhyme and a reason to our everyday life if you're living by this kind of calendar, because there's something going, there's an energy and information that you can tap into, unlike just being a Thursday and, on Thursdays we do the Ascension and Astrology show. That feels more mechanical. It feels more like a to-do list as opposed to an energy. I really, really love this idea.
Well, and you know what? Right now, it's really interesting because we're in this collective shadow cycle right now based on this calendar. And it correlates because I am feeling the density in my body, releasing this energy. There's lots of change happening where I'm continuously being challenged to release that old negative energy out of my body and not react, so that I can come from a place of love, that I can come from a place of compassion, that I can come from a place of neutrality, no matter what's happening on the outside world, so that my inner response is going to come from a place of truth and integrity, right? So this is a challenge right now, because we're faced with so much. We're faced with so much, just like even the burning of Notre Dame, just even that alone, there's so many things. And how can we come from a place of, what did I read the other day is coming from a place of the Christ at heart and the mind of Buddha, that coming from that place and then acting that out from a moment to moment basis.
Well, that's the key, acting it, not reacting. That's a real key thing you just said.
Yeah, and what you just explained so eloquently is exactly the message that Laarkmaa wishes to bring to humanity. All of the elements that you just spoke of are things that we have mostly lost as a society, as individual nations who say, my country's better than your country. My food is better than your food. Our universities are better than your universities. All of that has to do with separation. And what you so well just spoke has to do with unity consciousness. And that's exactly the role that Laarkmaa and many other beings from without Earth are trying to get us to.
We have harps playing.
That's appropriate. The angels are speaking.
I know, it's perfect.
What they're trying to help humanity to do is to return to our lost cycles, because we have stepped so far away from nature through technology that we no longer use the natural cycles. You said organically, and we need to get back to where things worked through grace and flow.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to do that is to do what you've just explained. So thank you for saying it in those words, because they make a lot of sense.
And Cullen, that's a really good point. Getting back to the flow is one thing that this energy calendar does. Once you begin to feel the energies in your body, like you're feeling, Cornelia, and you have an explanation for it, you can look and you can say, oh, today is a universal 2. I can feel the duality. I can feel the dynamic tension. I can feel the split. How can I heal that? Once you know what it is you're feeling and that there's a reason for what you're feeling, then you can access those feelings and turn around what you're thinking about to make different choices and do things more easily.
It takes us out of the dark. It takes us out of the dark
into the light
and allows us to work with what is actually here every day, every moment, every second.
And it turns each of us into alchemists. It turns each of us into alchemists, and it brings the responsibility back to each person, so that each person can work with their own energy, because again, the Savior already exists within each of us. No one on the outside is coming to make anything better. We each have to contribute to the ripple effect that is going to move everything back into its organic state. Each of us contributes to the whole.
You are speaking the exact appropriate, important information that Laarkmaa has been trying to get humanity to see for the 12 plus years we've been working with them. This is absolutely amazing, the words you're choosing to speak this ultimate truth. Nobody's going to save us. We have to do it.
Hey, go ahead.
What you said about being able to work with our own energy is the other part of this amazing calendar system that we haven't even touched on yet. And that's about looking at people's personal energy. Each of us comes here with an orientation towards a specific earth energy and an orientation towards a specific universal energy in order to better explore it and to help us utilize it together with all the other 19 earth energies and all the other 12 universal energies to create a pattern of wholeness, so that each color, each perspective, each attitude all weaves together harmoniously. We don't know how to do that on earth. We look at everything through this dualistic lens of you're not like me and you are like me, and that's pretty much it. This gives us a chance to understand the energetic makeup of who we are, and then look to see how we resonate with certain people, how other people challenge us to grow, where something might be mysterious in a person, or where we're really comfortable with a person. So it defines who we are, our relationships, everything.
It changes our understanding of duality. We've seen duality for thousands and thousands of years as, if I'm different than you, I probably don't like you because I don't understand you. You don't look like me. You don't smell like me. Laarkmaa's way of explaining duality in a much, much better, much wholer perspective is that we need to bring all of our differences together to make a more harmonious whole. Instead of separating ourselves, it's the idea of bringing ourselves closer together, because our differences make a better whole. They make a better combination together. And that's really what this calendar is about the relationship of our similarities rather than the differences that we seem to be so gripped and riveted to, because that helps nobody.
Well, in the end, I'm sorry, did you want to?
Well, I was just going to say that, a part of our evolution here as humans has been about individuating. And a part of that duality is learning that we are different, or how we are different. The part we haven't gotten yet is that a tapestry with a bunch of holes in it is nothing. So we need to bring all the pieces together to make the whole. So my question here then would be, once you know your own personal astrology in this system, how do you then apply what you know to be true about yourself to the calendar and how it's moving?
Well, I'll take a real easy example. Once you have, if you have an earth energy, and you know what your earth energy is, you can look and see what direction it is. Let's just say that one of you is feeling energy, for instance.
I'm a earth energy, I'm breathing, I think.
Breathing, okay. Well, we can take breathing, we can take that and use you as an example. Breathing energy is a northern energy. It has a northern feel to it. It brings forth a flexibility and an ability, a strength and ability to move through and around challenges quite easily. That's the higher vibration of breathing energy. The lower vibration of breathing energy is indecision and inability to make up one's mind. So when you know what your own energy is, you can look at it and say, okay, I can see where I'm out of balance here, and I can see where I'm in balance and I'm striving towards my higher self. Then when you're looking at the calendar, you can look and see what day it is, and today is a feeling energy, which is Eastern. So how does a northern energy relate to an Eastern energy? In this system, a northern energy and an Eastern energy are very, very compatible. So Janet, today you would feel comfortable. You would feel like things are going pretty smoothly today, although because the energy of feeling is present, it could be very emotional. Nevertheless, whatever emotions that are coming up, you're going to be comfortable working through them. You'll be okay with it because you're a northern energy and you're dealing with an Eastern energy. So even if it is challenging emotionally, you'll be more comfortable with figuring it out. That's the beauty of being able to look at your own energy and comparing it to how you work with another energy. So if you have a big business meeting coming up or an important event you want to put on, you look at the energies and you go, well, I'm a northern energy. And Cornelia, do you know what you are?
I'm a breathing too.
Okay, so you're both northern energies. So you look and say, we're both northern energies, and we want to plan this event. What energy is the most challenging and will give us the hardest time? And that would be a southern energy. So you flip back over and you say, well, we're thinking about doing this sometime in, let's say July. We're looking at July. So you look over and you look at each one of these energies and you pick one that's a southern energy, and they're all listed in the back what direction they are. So you can flip back and forth till you see it. A good southern energy would be planting. Oh, good. I don't want to do our event on a planting day because that's going to bring a lot of challenges. So we don't want to do that. But if we pick an Eastern day, what's a good Eastern day that would be good for us? Oh, here's one, being energy. What a perfect day for doing an event, because being is an Eastern energy, which we do well with, and it also is very compatible, and the energy itself is about initiating new things into the world. What a perfect place to introduce new ideas.
Great. So, I lied. I'm not breathing. I'm remembering.
Okay, well, that's Western, so that brings a whole different thing. But for that example, we'll just pretend you're both breathing.
I am breathing.
I do this chart that I do. It takes me 4 to 5 hours to do someone's chart because I don't do them computerized. I do them by hand, and I'm an intuitive. So when someone is giving me their information, I'm feeling into their system and not only what I know about that particular energy, but I'm individualizing it as well. And then I look at their important relationships, and I use the Venus system and the Pleiadian system together to see how their relationships work together or don't work, where the challenges are, how they can move beyond them. I outline all their shadow cycles for them, and I give them themes to work with, and then I teach them how to use the calendar. It's a lot of fun.
That's wonderful. Would you tell the audience today where they can, get in touch with you if they want to have you help them with their chart and get a chart reading done with you, and also where to get the calendar and your amazing companion book?
Sure. The astrological sessions can be booked on my website, which is my name, Pia Orleane, PIAORLEANE.com. Just go to the services section and you'll see many, many different types of charts you can do. Relationship, individual, child's chart, specific questions. There are different choices that you can have for how you want to investigate it.
Right.
The book and calendar. The book and calendar are also available on either my website or Cullen's and my joint website, which is Laarkmaa, Laarkmaa.com. So you can go to either place or both places and look at everything that we offer.
Awesome. So we have a couple of questions coming in from the audience, and I don't know that you can see them, so I'm going to read them to you if you don't mind. Lynn says, I'm wondering if you have to go to your birth year as well as month and day to get your earth energy.
Well, this is an interesting question. Yes, you do use the Gregorian birthday to get your initiation energy, to find out where you start, your starting point. But unlike the Gregorian system, which is based on artificial time, we consider that every day starts and stops at midnight. This system does not look at it that way. This system starts and stops at sunset. So when the sun goes down, you move into the next energy. So you need to know the time of birth, mostly to know how close it is to sunset or on which side of sunset, so you can look and see what the energy is, not according to what day it is. That's an important factor. The other thing to know is that this system is based on the Venus cycle around the sun of 260 days, not the 365 artificial day cycle of the Earth's rotation around the sun, which we have to adjust every 4 years. So that means that we have a spiritual birthday every 260 days, not once a year as we do our regular celebrations for our birthdays. So we have an opportunity to celebrate who we are and who we're becoming every 260 days.
We like that.
Yeah, that's also outlined when I do a chart for somebody, when their spiritual birthday is and all those things.
Yeah. So in the book,
Yeah.
which is called Pleiadian-Earth Energy Astrology, there in the back of the book is the dates. And if you were born before, 1970 something, you have to go onto the website, because I ended up having to do that to get mine. If you were born before 1975, go onto their website to find your birth date through the ephemeris. Now, if you have the book and you're 75 or 1975 or after, you can get that information directly from the book, and it tells you what day you were born and what your earth energy is. And your universal
let
energy.
me just add to that just a little bit, if I will. The link in the book to be able to get the full ephemeris, which is 4 different files, the link in the book sometimes confuses people because the publishers put a period at the end of the sentence after the link, and sometimes people think that period goes in the link. It doesn't. Leave the period out, and it'll go straight to the full ephemeris.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because some of you that are, how old are you if you were born in 75? If you're older than, let's say, 45-ish, you're going to need to go to the website to get that information. And then there's another question here from the audience. Thank you for answering that.
Sure.
What if you feel, this is from Asa, what if you feel you're from another star family? Can this calendar still vibrate with your energies?
Yes, because you're here on Earth and you would be governed by the same universal energies no matter what star system you come from. So you would probably resonate more fully with the universal energies, and you may feel a little less resonance with the Earth energies. But nevertheless, you're here on the planet for a reason, so it's important to understand what the Earth energies are so that you can do the work you came here to do.
Nice. Now, I'd like to go back to a subject that we started earlier in our conversation today, and that is this concept of shadow cycles. And you mentioned this morning that we are in the midst of a shadow cycle right now that began April 10th on the Gregorian calendar. Can you tell us more about what that is and how do we work with that?
Yes, the collective shadow cycle is different from the personal shadow cycles. Personal shadow cycles happen once every 60 days, approximately. The collective shadow cycle happens about once or twice per year, and it is a major time of disruption. I would say it's bigger than Mercury retrograde and most uncomfortable things in Western astrology you can think of. The collective shadow cycle pretty much pulls them all together, and you'll find a lot of correlations with things like Jupiter retrograde right now happening during a collective shadow cycle.
Yeah.
Because we are meant to step out of our patterns of familiarity, look at the choices we're making, and collectively make a change. The problem is that because humans don't know about this yet, when they feel this dynamic tension and this discomfort, they react. And that's what's causing things like arson and shootings and arguments and people wanting to fire off nuclear attacks. All of it is because we're not working with the collective for us as a unit, humanity. So it's pretty uncomfortable, intense right now. And Cornelia, I know you said you could feel it. Cullen and I absolutely feel it every single day. I had one day I just burst into tears, and Cullen said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Everything, but it has nothing to do with me."
Yeah, I for me is I just felt this rage, this rage, this inner rage, and just this injustice. And, part of the way that I clear is that I allow myself to dive fully into my feeling center, into my emotions, so that I can feel everything that's there and be in it. And at the same time, bring my love to and compassion for what it is that I'm feeling. And even though, like you said, sometimes you just can't identify what it is, but when it's a collective shadow cycle, like you said, it helps us to identify and have like what is the word? The word is to a reason, like a reason to be able to go, oh, okay, yeah, this is what's happening. So this is a clearing that's happening. For me, even without knowing it was a collective, is an intuitive knowing that on a large scale right now, we are clearing a whole lot of stuff, right?
We are
clearing a whole lot of stuff, and right now is a whole new paradigm for us. There's so much change for us that it takes Ascension is a full-time job. It's a full-time job. The thing I really wish that we would have written into the script is that to make sure that we got paid, that we had like money in the accounts, so that because we're juggling, we're juggling. We're also still trying to run businesses and take care of our livelihoods and do all of these things, while at the same time, moving into our organic state and ascending while we're awake, right? And so it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Well,
so to show you in the book, everyone, from April 10th until April 29th this year is the shadow cycle that we're in now. The next one for 2019 begins on December 26th, 2019, and lasts until January 14th, 2020. From an astrological point of view,
Yes, we all know what's supposed to be predicted that's coming with all the transits and everything happening in January of 2020.
I mean, that encompasses the lunar eclipse at that or solar eclipse at that point in time, and it is the conjunction of Mercury, Pluto, and Saturn, and then the pure Mercury or Pluto Saturn conjunction, all within that shadow period.
Well, that's one of the fascinating things about this system, is that it connects, collaborates, and is in alignment with many other systems. It's different in the way it's organized, but if you look at Chinese astrology, Western astrology, Vedic astrology, there are absolute elements that show what could happen during the shadow cycles. So it's amazing. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's an absolute alignment of activities or potentialities that are clear when we use this system. It's amazing.
I know that this system is new for most people, and it's a different way of thinking about how we navigate these energies as they come through and redefining our timing. But I actually feel this system is much, much simpler. It's not as complex. And once you get the feel of it and you begin to feel the flow of how it shifts and changes, it's really easy to use, and it does change your life. Certainly has changed ours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's wonderful to have this system, because again, we need something that supports us to go back to the simplicity of our living our lives and taking Earth back into the simple way of living, so that we can nurture each other and honor each other and love each other, what we're all yearning to do, right?
Right.
So
there's one more thing here that we both have things to say. There's one more thing here, and I wanted just to tell people that the world is beginning to be interested in this. This book just got nominated for a cover award for bringing in new science.
Nice.
Wow.
it's getting notice around the world, and that means people are saying this makes sense. Go ahead.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was just going to say something very simple. When Pia and I met, one of the first things she said to me as we were exchanging our histories and our interests, she said, "Cullen, I just want to let you know that I'm only interested in two things." And I looked at her and I had no idea what she was going to say. She said, "I'm only interested in simple and deep. That's it. That's all I'm interested in." And so basically, what this calendar is trying to help people understand is that life can be simple and deep. We don't have to be as complicated as we often say. Laarkmaa laughs and laughs when they hear people say, "Well, you know, I'm a very complicated person." And they just laugh because they say, "Well, you don't really have to be that complicated. You could be much simpler." And we think that makes a lot of sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So we've got a couple of other questions and comments out here. Colleen says the collective shadow cycle explains a lot, and that she cries and feels rage, and it helps her to sit on large rocks and just breathe. Sort of grounding is what I would imagine.
Coming back to nature is always a good thing to do to help that energy pass.
Yes. And Rebecca wants to know how long a personal shadow cycle is.
It varies. What I tell people is I mark the day that's the end of the cycle, and then I tell them to count backwards for 7 to 10 days. And during that period of 7 to 10 days, they more than likely will have a flare-up or a challenge of some kind. You don't know when it's going to come, but you know that 7 to 10 day period is something to be cautious and careful with. And usually it will come as an emotional flare-up. It can come as a mental challenge. It can even, Cullen and I have experienced it as physical challenges when we're working things out of our bodies. Mm-hmm. So they do come in a lot of different ways, but the most typical way for people to get in touch with these cycles is recognizing them at the emotional level.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the place where we want to return back to being neutral around any event, right? And when the collective shadow, when that personal shadow side happens, it's happening so that you can clear it and that you can release it and let it go, and that you can return back to your true organic nature, which is love, and that you're not wounded, that you're not reacting wounded, but that you're reacting from love. Yes. That you're acting from love, not reacting from love.
Right, react. Yeah. The one we don't want. Someone else is mentioning body hurts and feeling like she wants to sleep and astral dreaming. Is that part of the shadow cycle that's collective and also personal?
That's a large question, and I'd have to expand a bit on that. I imagine that people can definitely feel like they're drained energetically. They want to sleep, they want to rest, because they are feeling the collective energy of this shadow cycle, but that's not all that's going on. We also have cosmic rays, which are coming in from space right now, are coming in because our magnetosphere is at its lowest level because we're at a solar minimum. And with the solar minimum, we don't have the protection from the cosmic rays. When the cosmic rays come in at a very high level, we reach what's called a 0 on the KP index. There's a special German word for that I can't remember what it stands for right now, but you can look it up. Anyway, the KP index indicates disruption in your digestion, being tired and sleepy, sometimes not even being able to sleep, sometimes sleeping too much, mental fog and confusion, many symptoms that come because of the cosmic rays, because basically we're being irradiated. Now, Laarkmaa says being irradiated is not such a bad thing. You're getting more light into your cells, but the physical body doesn't know what to do with it yet. So therefore, we have these physical reactions and emotional blank places and mental can't think, all that's part of it. So it's sort of like we're getting a double whammy this April. Maybe a triple whammy.
And maybe for a longer period of time, because I just announced that the solar minimum will be extended this particular cycle. So we're getting a little more time to embody that light and that those very highly charged particles that come in when the sun isn't producing a lot of sunspots and helping protect us. So we can see these things as a detriment. We can see these things as a challenge, but on the other hand, we can also see them as opportunities to slow down,
when we're feeling these energies, which humanity has never historically had this much energy pouring into this planet. This is a new paradigm. This is a new occurrence. And although it's a good thing for us, we're developing through it. Our bodies don't know how to accommodate it. They don't know how to understand what's going on, because the body is the slowest part of all of our bodies to make changes. It's the most stubborn, because it wants to live in homeostasis. It wants everything to be normal and as it has been, which is no longer possible.
That's not the agenda. The agenda is to become lighter in vibration and less dense, and that we have to make choices that support the body's evolution.
So we can look at this as evolving, not a problem, or not a sickness or an illness, but we can see it as a developmental stage, which is actually quite a good thing.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why, you know, a lot of these ascension symptoms that the physical body is moving through, the more compassionate and nurturing that you can be, to take the naps, to go for the nature walks, to do what it is that you need to do to allow the body to move through that density, so that that light can be integrated. Because like you said, the amount of light that's coming into the planet right now has never happened before. And our physical bodies have never before held as much light as we're holding now. And to be able to, integrate that light, it takes time for that inner parent to become our inner parents, and really not become victims of our body, but to become caretakers of our body, which is our physical body, our earthly body, our, to become caretakers of the land, if you will.
Good stewards.
Yeah, good stewards.
So I have another question for you. Can you explain to us what vortex days are? Because I noticed there's like quite a few coming up here in the next few.
It's pretty simple. Vortex is just a combination of earth energies and universal energies on a certain pattern that create intensity. That intensity can be like, oh boy, I'm getting married, and it's really, really good. Or you did what? And it's really, it can be anything, but it's just days to notice that everything is really intense and pay attention to your response or reaction. That's all you need to know. Now, when I do a chart for somebody, I star all the vortex days that are occurring in their shadow cycle, so they can really pay attention to it. It really might be intense on those particular days.
And we can see these as a higher experience or a lower experience. What happens is, as Pia just said, the energy amplifies. The ability to have a really fantastic experience on one of those days gets larger and larger. But if you look at it from a negative point of view, it can become a really, really bad hair day. So it's our choice. It's absolutely our choice to use the vibration positively or negatively. And we can buoy ourselves up and zoom on vortex days, or we can have a really not such a nice experience.
Well, I also noticed, like, for example, May 5th through 10th. So you've got a series of 5 days where you're having, every one of them are vortex days. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
That's because there is an extreme intensity of energy immediately prior to and immediately following a collective shadow cycle. So we move out of the collective shadow cycle, or you might consider it like aftershocks. We're feeling the aftershocks of the collective shadow cycle during that 5-day vortex period. That's why.
Gotcha.
Well, one of the things I wanted to let everyone know that I did an interview with you all on my radio show called Heaven on Earth. And you can find that amazing, was a super fun interview that we did. I think it was about a month or so ago, maybe a little longer. And it's on my YouTube channel. You can look at it at Kornelia Stephanie YouTube. And you can look at the interview that I did with Pia and Cullen there, because there were probably things that were covered there that we didn't get to today. But it was absolutely wonderful. Speaking about Laarkmaa, I want to give some recognition and some honor to Laarkmaa and tell the audience again the consciousness of Laarkmaa is a group of 6-1-1-6. Is that right?
One of 6 and 6 of 1.
One of
like
6.
Unified family with 6 different members. Think of it like that.
They have individual interests. They have individual personalities, but they work in a collective where every decision they make, every choice they make has to do with the entire group. The highest good for all comes
I
out
love
of
that.
Yes.
And that's
an amazing way to live.
well, that's where
what they're trying to help us get to.
And that's where we're going. That's where humanity, through this paradigm shift, through this evolutionary steps that we're taking, we're going to be able to achieve that. And we will be cosmic universal citizens when we make that leap to be sure that every choice we make, every action we take, every thought we have is for the collective good.
Oh, yes. So we are winding down this hour. I can't hardly even believe it. So I want to give you an opportunity to tell our audience, what is the single most important message in the book?
The single most important message in the book is that we are energy, and energy has intelligence. And we need to learn to understand our own energy so that we can better integrate with others' energies and act either from our choices to act at the higher vibration of that energy rather than making repetitive, reactive choices at the lower vibration. When each of us does that, we will be bringing harmony to the world.
And that encapsulates a very, very simple idea. Unity consciousness is better than individual consciousness, because if we unify all of our energies, we do a better job. We combine all of our differences, all of our similarities, and we come out as a greater whole. And I think that's what the Pleiadians hope that we will get from this wisdom that they've given us.
Yes, that's awesome.
So awesome that you all came on today to share this beautiful consciousness with us, your calendar and your book and the message, and both of your stories is incredible. I love, Pia, that you told Cullen, simple but deep. You're explaining me to a T. That's exactly what you do. Simple but deep. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yesterday I announced to my group, and I did this without you really knowing I was doing this, but I announced that if you joined us this morning and commented in the chat or asked a question, that your name would be put into a drawing to win a copy of the calendar. So because I can't really do that right now, I see Vicky and Rebecca and Asa and Colleen and more, Willa and Lynn. Lots of people have put in comments. As soon as we are done this morning, I will make the list of all of that, and I will have Cornelia pull out a name. We'll contact you, get your mailing address, and you will be the recipient of a Pleiadian-Earth energy calendar where you can begin to have your journey into living from energy and not the mechanics of time. So yay.
Thank
really
you.
Excited about that. And now your book and your calendar, are they available on the typical outlets, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc.?
Yes.
Yes, we would prefer that you buy the calendar directly from us because we can get it to you more quickly. So if you go to our website and order it, we can get it shipped directly from the printer. Whereas if you go through Amazon, I'm told it takes weeks to get a calendar. So order it directly from us. The book can be purchased in any bookstore worldwide. And there are links to various bookstores on the website that you can choose from, or you can just walk into your local bookstore and say, I'd like to order this book by title, and they'll get it for you.
And this is a purely personal question. Are you teaching people how to do this as astrology?
Well, Janet, I have to say you're the third or fourth person who's asked me to start that, and I'm considering holding a master class this fall. I'm putting
my name on your list.
I will put you both on my list. I think I'm going to do it, but it won't be till the fall.
Okay, that's good because we've got lots to do in between now and then.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you two so much for joining us this morning and sharing this wonderful information, this life-changing information with all of us. And we would love to have you back again when you're ready to talk more about what is going on here in the earth energies and the universal energies. Anything else you want to say, Kornelia? Love, love, love.
We love you. Good always.
We love you also, and we want to tell you we've been delighted to do this, and we would love to be back on your show. This is great fun, and you're wonderful interviewers, both of you.
Yeah, this has been really fun for us, and we would love to come back and spend more time with both of you.
Wonderful. Well, I may just be contacting you if you have time in a couple of weeks, because Janet's going to be gone, and you and I could come on and we could talk about other topics, other things. So you'll get an email from me.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. For all of you out there in the audience, we can't do this without your participation, and we so appreciate you tuning in, even at the odd times that we sometimes have to change our broadcast for. And Pia and Cullen, mwah, thank you so much.
Thank
and everyone, have a wonderful day.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We love you. Bye-bye.